Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Coming up in the next segment, the total collapse of our borders. Obama moves towards gun confiscation. He says he wants Australian-style actions. He said, I'll never come after your guns. Now he says, I want Australian-style. This is huge. Right now, let's go back to the FoodBabe, foodbabe.com. Other points that need to be said, because you were getting into the fact that it's good to be called a conspiracy theorist. That's like being called a heretic when, people 500 years ago, 600 years ago said the earth wasn't flat. I mean, it's like being persecuted by the Nazis. I mean, that's a good thing that you weren't for the Nazis. I mean, this is the new term they've used for 30 years. It doesn't work anymore. So final comments.
Yeah, it doesn't work, and there's no conspiracy about this. The only conspiracy that's happening actually is within the beer companies, how they've lobbied the Treasury Department and the government to keep this information secret from us so they can continue to make really big bucks. I'm talking billions of dollars by selling us cheap, harmful chemicals to us. And what's really important here when people start to think about these issues is that one signature, one voice can magnify thousands. And so I just beg everyone to go to foodbabe.com/beer and sign the petition, because if we get millions of people behind this, these companies have nowhere to hide anymore. Because if people know about this information, they stop to buy those brands, they start buying other brands, or maybe they stop drinking beer altogether, which I did as a result. And this is what increases the health of the nation, the health of transparency in our food environment. And I think, by doing these type of campaigns led by, someone like myself, and I hope others have enough courage to do these type of campaigns on their own and their own blogs, I think we can really take over the world, because there's more people than there are that work at Monsanto and that work at these beer companies. And there's more people collectively that pay for their products that we can actually take back the ownership and start voting with our dollars and doing the right thing. And, before the break, Alex, you asked me, you said, what do you think has made your campaign so successful? And I just want to reiterate the fact that make your voice heard, tell the truth, and ask your friends and family to share it. Like, ask them. They say, tell them, this information is so important. Will you share it with someone that drinks beer or that eats GMO corn every day in the form of Subway sandwiches or whatever? Someone that and everybody knows someone, right? Everyone knows someone who's drinking Miller Lite or Bud Light. Everyone I know knows somebody, whether it's your college kid that's in college at a college party, or if it's your dad, or if it's, your neighbor, or it's the person that brings the brew to the next barbecue. We all know someone drinking these brands. Shoot, just walk down the street and go into a bar and start telling people the truth about what's really in your beer. And
say, hey, bro, you know why, beer gives you such a big belly? It's the high fructose corn syrup that's been in there for 30 years. You ought to drink a local brew. And say, look, I'm not henpecking you. I care about you. Yeah, and people will be very thankful.
And, I think...
You can also say, hey, did you hear about the FoodBabe? Man, she's smoking. You ought to check her out. And she discovered all this stuff that's in the beer. They want to keep it secret.
That's exactly right, and well, the thing is a lot of people, I know the haters are going to come out, and what they're going to say is they're going to be like, oh, FoodBabe wants to take away our beer. She's trying to make a mountain of a molehill, and I'm not trying to do any of that.
Hey, if that's the case, show us what's in it. If that's the case, tell us, because, there should only be 4 or 5 ingredients in beer.
Right.
There shouldn't be 20.
And I'm not targeting the government. The government can continue to be the most dysfunctional thing that's ever existed like it is today. I'm not targeting them. I'm targeting these companies that have the power to make these decisions in a heartbeat. They could get their ingredients online tomorrow.
That's why you're so successful, because you're bypassing the bureaucracy, going right to the culprits and calling them out. We salute you, FoodBabe. Great job. We'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you, Alex.
We're live, folks, now into hour number 3. And we have coming up at the bottom of the hour a very popular comic book illustrator and writer who's worked for DC, you name it. She's done one on Snowden. And I'm in the comic Drudge linked to it last week. It got a lot of national attention. But she's also done some study into the iconography and archetypes of the Joker and why it's associated with so many senseless murders. And now some other comic book characters as well. We're not blaming the comic book characters. It's like, what is in the psychology of these people? That's coming up. Now, before we go any further, there is just so much news, but I'm going to be honest with you. Obama coming out on CBS Nightly News last night and saying that we need to do what Australia did. You know, they didn't put up with it. They had one shooting, and that was it. The guns were gone. I mean, they confiscated it. They had full auto, semi-auto. They took everything but single shot with a special license. And he wanted to say, we have an epidemic of mass shootings. No, we don't. We have the media hyping them where the car backfires now. They shut down half a city. Or one supposed terrorist is on the run, so you lock down all half of Boston and point guns at blonde-haired women and black ladies that don't fit the description. You know, one guy's running on the loose Dorner shooting a few cops. It's terrible, and they lock down half of Southern California and shoot up black people's cars, black women's cars, blondes' cars, white men's cars. Look nothing like him. I mean, it reminds me, you take somebody who's never gone deer hunting before and they get buck fever and, you know, they shoot the first doe that comes out and you're like, man, we're not shooting doe, we're shooting bucks. Well, I thought it had antlers. You take people with buck fever, I've heard of them shooting people's cows across a fence. I thought it was a deer. They want to shoot something. And you've got a percentage of cops that are like that, and they just want to shoot somebody. And the system defends them. The system is out of control, folks. It protects failure. It protects screwing up. We didn't have hardly any nuclear reactors leaking 30 years ago, and we had more of them then. 93% of U.S. reactors are leaking. Look it up. Department of Energy, leaking. They turn the alarms off now. Used to in Minnesota and California, and if radiation came out and they had to off-gas it, they would have announcements. Radiation has been released. Check local news for details. Radiation has been released. Because by law, they're supposed to tell you. Well, they just ignore the law now and made an announcement. It was in Southern California at one plant last year. Yeah, we're turning the alarm off because it's scaring people. It's going off every week. They just dump radiation into the water, into the air now. Crazy. Cops don't get in trouble when they shoot up a car that doesn't even match the description with two blondes driving it because they thought it was Dorner. They didn't get in trouble. You want someone out there? Well, they were scared. Well, Ben, that's not the type of guys you need then, is it? It'd be bad enough if they shot some black guy that looked like him for no reason. But you could argue, well, it was the big black guy with a shaved head and a truck that looked the same, and it was a cell phone. We thought it was a gun. Well, it'd be a tragedy. You'd have to pay out a bunch of money. There'd have to be an investigation. You wouldn't get fired for that because at least you thought, how do you shoot up a car with two blondes in it? Or a nerdy white guy in broad daylight? And then no one gets in trouble. It's just, you're all dressed up in army outfits, and you're lusting after this great, glorious war you're going to have with the gun owners and the veterans. I mean, that just sounds horrible. And they're telling the cops, you will face veterans. They will bomb you. It is coming. That's mainstream news. We told you first years ago. It's mainstream news. They're training, Northcom's training to fight veterans. And they're going to start fights with veterans, and veterans are going to go haywire. If it really kicks off, I think as much as 10% of veterans are going to pull guns off the shelves, off their gun racks. It's just unbelievable. The world is never going to see anything like this. There's never been anything like this that's about to happen if this kicks off. And I'm doing everything I can to try to stop it. And I am deader than a box of nails if this thing goes off. They're going to come after me like that. So believe me, I'm in the boat with the cops. I don't want them to die. I don't want to die. I don't want this to happen. But George Soros and the globalists are going to sit up there in their ivory towers with all their bodyguards when they want our guns, and they're going to have you, who they hate, the military and the police. They hate your guts. They know you're libertarian, most of you. Most police I know are more informed than the public, by far. They hate your guts. And they're going to start this civil war, and it is going to be a nightmare. That's their plan. And then riding in on his white horse like Napoleon, like Lincoln, here comes Obama. Oh, he'll crush the Tea Party. He'll crush the terrorist. They'll crush Alex Jones. I mean, I'll just say this. I'm not going after anybody. But if somebody pulls up and starts shooting at me or whatever, I'll have to defend myself. And I'm not afraid, actually. I'm afraid for my children, and I'm afraid for this country of simple-minded people that have no idea what's going on. I mean, we're living in something 10 times past a James Bond movie. I mean, this is epic what's going on. Epic. Epic upon epic upon epic. This is the fall of America, for real. For real. With a bunch of crazy communist ideologues working for Goldman Sachs and big banks who think they can run a communist ideology takeover and that it's going to work. I mean, my God, this country is going to blow sky high. By the way, if you were ever going to evacuate the United States, now is the time to get out of here. I'm staying. But, I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to go overseas and report on what's going on in the info war, that might be a good time. I mean, and all the rich people, most of the rich people, they've been pulling out for 5 years. That's in the news. And buying armored redoubts all over the world because they know. I mean, they have just, billionaires are freaked out when they hear even part of this plan from the globalists. I mean, they're like, what? You're going to have a civil war? With 170 million gun owners, mainly veterans? You're going to try to hunt down all the veterans and kill them in re-education camps, as the FBI discovered with Grafwald, back when the FBI wasn't completely out of control. I mean, my God, listen, you're going to force millions of people to fight to the death. I mean, do you have any idea what that's going to look like? I mean, you're going to need a lot more armored vehicles. That's all. I mean, you could have 1 million of them. It isn't going to help you. You could put one guy in each armored vehicle. That's not going to help you. And you know that. You're not stupid. So, are we going to let this happen? I sure hope we can stop it. Believe me, I lie awake at night. I wake up in the morning, and I brush my teeth, and I hug my children, and I cook dinner, and I think about this. It's all I